Good morning from the East Coast, folks. Happy to be back with you. Wanted to make a reference to something I was just talking to Rachel about. When we did that daily 5 before, and said there's something out there. We don't always know what's out there, but the market tends to. And if you follow the technical structure, the answers come later. We don't always know what it's going to be, but the technicals do have a way of showing you as it's happening, what's about to happen and what it means. So the headlines come later. In this case, I've gotten a lot of emails and some people called me. The show we did a couple weeks ago where we called it there's something out there. Well, we didn't know what it was. That was back in mid-August. But I made a comment on Twitter about my positive reversal targets. And you can see here, this is the Dow back on mid-August. Had a high close of 35,625. Well, we had a sell-off over the next few days and then targeted another upside target at 35,641. In fact, I put it out on my Twitter. That was a positive reversal target. They are what comes in uptrends based on my RSI work. The longer it takes to clear it, the bigger the move in the opposite way. So it's had a run up, and for a little over a week or so, it kept trying to get up there. It got as high as 35,510, 35,475, and it's been breaking down since, and we're seeing more of it now. We're also seeing the RSI is not getting back above the bear market range of 60 and 40. So the range is shifting. The moving averages on RSI are turning down. And this blue line is a number, it's an average of 4 different moving averages I use on highs and lows. And then we have what I call the high line and the low line on either side of it. But now this green line, let me zoom in there. The red line's pivot points. And that's just taking the daily input, high, low, and close, and dividing and getting a value that leads price action or goes along very closely with price action, but turns before the turn actually gets going. Give you an indication it's running out of gas. The green line is a 9 on close, simple 9 on close. Well, now this green line is in the process of heading south, and the market's going with it. So we don't necessarily know what it is, but this is starting to show signs of 34. We'll round it off, 34,870 and 34,814. The RSI went higher, but price was lower. That's a negative reversal pattern. So this does not surprise me, this action. And the fact that it is so tight, only 2 periods apart. My favorites that I've seen over 40 years, when they're 2 to 5 periods apart, they're important. You're not going to get it up at the very top, but you are going to get it after it's made a high and starts down that first rally back, which was this in here in late August, early September. Another little lesson very quickly is this blue bar, this close, and this low are very important because the market opened higher than it did the day before and closed up. The low never exceeded the previous close. I call that a price close support point. Well, it was followed by the inverse. The market the following day never went above the previous high and it closed down. That means that previous close at 35,443, 444 was a resistance level. And you can see how price action's been. Now it's starting to accelerate more to the downside. So when we did that session before talking about there's something out there, I don't know whether it was the Delta that was scaring everybody, but when I looked at the RSI lines and looked at the closes, here was a price close support point. Tells me we could see that very soon. That's around 34,000. But when I looked at the next RSI point, and I draw trend lines on my bar charts based, as you can see, on RSI points. And while we went back up, we went sideways for a while and we broke that trend line. Then the moving average broke the trend line. When you draw your trend lines, this is kind of a quick example, a little teaching class. When you draw your trend lines on bar charts based on RSI points, you want to see the moving average, simple moving averages stay above that trend line. And they pretty much did until the break of it. So I think we're in for some rough sledding. The other thing I wanted to mention was crude oil, because in my last update to my clients a couple of weeks ago, I've been talking about crude oil and the fact that it was correcting. The correction looked like it was over down around 63, and targets for 75 and a break of 75. We should see at least a test of 80. I don't think it's going to happen in a couple of weeks, but I think everything is pointing that way. And we're going to see higher crude prices. And once it breaks 80, we're going to see 100 somewhere. Right now, it's come back up. The RSI is starting to get up, turn up. The moving averages are up. Price has been up to 73 yesterday. Maybe a little correction here, but that green line is starting to turn up through what I call, my blue line is the number. And the price action's above the high line or the upper band. That's for there. Gold is still correcting. I'm still long-term bullish on gold, but it's fits and starts now. Started to move up, pulled back. But I've always seen in my time in the business and around markets, the mid-September to mid-October is the seasonal cycle low. And by mid-October, it's usually making the low. Some months it comes early. I thought it came early in August, but that was a shakeout. Now we're coming back down and testing the 40 level. And if we go sideways to slightly higher, then the cycle low will probably be in early October. And then we'll see a move from October up to February. It's one of the strongest seasonal patterns that I've seen over the years. We talked about the Dow, we talked about crude oil, gold, sugar. And I'm still, I cut my teeth in futures. And I think, as I've been talking about, this inflation is not transitory. It may be shaking out hard, but overall, I'm seeing most of the commodity prices, the grains, they've corrected. They should start up again. Sugar, coffee's had a correction. I still think we're going to see coffee over $2.50 to $3. Sugar here, if you notice back here, price action got above that high line, came back to that number, and it's been up. This is the daily. So I think we're going to see probably a break of 20, possibly as quick as tomorrow. The weekly chart is even more impressive as an uptrend. And I don't like to day trade because I'm afraid I'm going to miss most of what I've done the analysis on. That's telling me just put it on and keep it. I almost trade futures like most people trade stocks, buy and hold. But as long as the market is showing positive reversals, which this has, most recently, the ones where it's significant come back to almost the blue line, my number, and then it came back only just below the high line, but it was a positive. This is 1369. This is 1483. Let's say $1.50, $1.10. Added to 1701 says it's going to go to 1850. Well, it had no problem. Went up there, went sideways, and then cleared that. And with the targets, when it clears, surpasses, and closes above that target, it's confirmation that trend is still going. So a lot of these commodities have had pullbacks. The stock market has had targets that have failed to achieve. Now we're starting to break them down. And when a buy signal fails, It's usually a good place for a sell signal, or at least take half your trade, half your position off. But the thing I wanted to point out today was something with these price close support and price close resistance points. If you'd like to learn more, get in touch with me, because you can look at a bar chart and just draw support points. Here's one way back here at $10. Here's another support point right here, price close support point, followed by another one. We don't even have one over here yet, so it's still going up. And that moving average is still above my high line. This is not sideways in here. This is sideways to higher. But get in touch with me. I want to help. I've been helping a lot of others. And the thing I'm proud of is 70% of my students have been referred by previous students. But just be careful, because there's some markets that are going sideways, and we're going to be looking for breakouts. Make sure it's a breakout and not a fake out. And I'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, Grayson Rose here with StockCharts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, consider giving it a like down below, maybe leave us a comment, and if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe at the link up above. We're gonna bring you daily content from an incredible collection of technical analysts and financial experts.